The Jim and Terry Show, trying to do our best to manage technology, present to you some clips, what I used to call snippets. Little snip here and snip there.
Ouch!
Yeah, well, it depends on where the snipping's going on. In this case, we're going to take a look at Joe Rogan. And this fellow is, well, I don't know where I got this video from, but I'm just going to focus on not the guy who's presenting this, but the actual clip, which is Tom Green, Canadian comedian, and Joe Rogan talking about politics in Canada, and politics in Canada would involve Joe Rogan's views on Trudeau, Justin Trudeau. So here we go.
And then that'll be just like it is down here.
I hope he doesn't.
Might just be like it is down here.
If he gets elected again, you guys are gluttons for punishment.
Yeah, it could be. It could be the same as here. Biden could get elected again. Trump could get elected. It's sort of like, this is, I was thinking the other day, I'm almost kind of wondering, this is obviously a stupid idea, but I'm wondering, like, maybe wouldn't it almost be better if we just got rid of the elections and just let the Conservatives run it for 4 years, and then just automatically the Liberals run it 4 years? I can pick a million holes in why that wouldn't work, and just let it go back and forth, and then people can just be like, okay, let's just all get along. Let them have 4 years at running the country, do what they do, let the other side run for 4 years. It's kind of a pendulum that goes back and forth anyways, and then we can kind of get back to, just all getting along and...
well, even if that did happen, the same problem would take place. And it's that the people that are embedded, that are running the government, the real people behind the curtain, they're always there.
Yeah.
They don't get elected. Mm-hmm. They're always there. And those are the people that are actually running the government. So it would be the same horse shit that we're dealing with now. Every 4 years, some new spokesperson comes in play, and they do a bunch of shit that pisses off half the country. And at the same thing, behind the scenes, the same people are running things.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And I got to the point where I started to kind of just try to disconnect from the conversation, which sounds sometimes I feel bad about it because you want to have a social contribution
awareness.
But then you go, man, I just don't feel like talking about the same thing over and over again. It's like,
But, what I was going to say though is that like the whole system is set up so that one person can't be in control for too long. That's the whole idea about term limits. You got 4 years and then you get elected again, you get another 4 years, and then you're fucking done. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying this. This is not something that I fully support, but there's something to be said for someone staying in there for a long time and getting it right if they're good at it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if I was in any other job, it would backfire with power and control. The problem is we are terrified of having someone like Putin, who's in control of Russia for decades, right?
No, for sure.
But if you had someone who was good at the job, you would want them to stay on the job. Like if you had the best CEO of your company, you're making record money and everything's doing great and the products are incredible, you'd want to keep that guy as a CEO. He's obviously killing it. And when Steve Jobs was running Apple, he's killing it. You don't want to remove him as a CEO.
Because you know how long it takes to build anything, right?
Right. And how long it takes to get good at your job.
To build anything.
Right. And to figure out who are the right people, who's backstabby, what are the issues? Who's trying to climb the political ladder and they're just thinking about themselves only. They're sociopaths. Figure it out. It takes a long time to fucking work your cabinet now. If you had a president that was a young president that gets in at like 38, 40 years old and 20 years of running the country correctly, that's what most of these dictatorships have as a benefit. Yeah. It's horrible for the people. But at the benefit of having one guy run things and just keep it locked up, and this is the right way to do it, we've been doing it this way forever, this is correct.
Yeah.
All right, let's interrupt there. That's Joe Rogan and Tom Green just talking globally about dictatorships and power. And isn't it good to have somebody in power for a long time?
First off, bouncing off our last show. Remember when you didn't swear? So that's just I really don't mind it, but I'm just reflecting back at a time when you would be totally fired if you accidentally just dropped one of those bombs. Yeah. I like what he said about that. Just 4 years of liberal, 4 years of conservative, but of course we know it can't work.
So only put in a two-party system.
Well, the thing is you're embedded in you got these 4 years. They're going to undo this 4 year. They're going to undo that, and it just gets a mess.
It's a pendulum that would swing because the next party would come in, and I think he did say they would literally undo everything of the previous 4 years, in which case, in Trump's case, I would say, thank goodness.
But the other thing is, something that I didn't really think about, you're guaranteed back in the next 4 years. In other words, there's no elections. You're designated the next 4 years. Wouldn't you want an easier transition? You might then start talking to the other party, saying, come on, if we do this, it's only 4 more years and you're going to be back. Maybe you could negotiate a smoother world in your policies, a smoother everything.
That's a bipartisan.
Yeah, well, you'd be forced to. If you think about it, you say to them, look, I know you don't want us to look good in the next 4 years, but you're going to win the next after that anyways. If we put this in, can't you see how that's going to benefit your run 8 years from now? Yeah, maybe.
I got a feeling that you're living in your world of make-believe when
I
you
am.
hope that people would get together. Well, no, we've got an example now of the NDP Liberal coalition that seems to be holding together and making some gains. And that, to me, is starting to hint at getting together.
Well, I guess, but it is getting together against that party. Yeah. So it's just, stop getting the best players on the Kidley team on your team, and it's all fair, you're playing, but I'm not saying it's not fair. It's the way our system works.
Yes,
you can have a coalition with any of the parties. If you want.
What did you think about this idea? In America, they do have term limits. You can get to be president for twice, and that's it.
Well, knowing the way the States is run, maybe that's a good thing.
I'm thinking it is.
Yeah, like up here's a little bit different. We have. And, of course, if you want people out here, you used to be able to do this in the States, too, until Trump came along, but you can actually vote people out.
Yes.
And I like that idea.
In Canada, you can send a government packing by a vote of non-confidence over the presentation of the financial budget.
Yeah.
If the budget doesn't pass, that's a vote of non-confidence.
And a budget comes every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
It's
so
not
every year there is an opportunity to get rid of the tyrant if you think they're a tyrant.
If you think they're a tyrant. So here's the irony. You think they're a tyrant, and he'll go on in this episode to say a few more things. I don't know if we'll get a time to actually deal with some of this other stuff. Maybe we'll stop right here. I do like the idea of he's raising the possibility of a tyrant, someone who goes on for decades. And his argument was, well, wouldn't that be a good thing if the guy's doing a good job? And I thought, that's how the king comes. And remember the story of the Israelites and
that's how you get a Putin.
That's how
you just eliminate slowly but surely, and
that's
now he just boldly kills off anybody who's in his way.
Yes. That's right.
It wasn't so bold before. Like some of those people could have fallen out the windows.
So to me, this is bordering on really dangerous speak from Rogan, entertaining.
It's all for they couldn't care less if the country went to hell in a handbasket.
As long as there's
they're
money.
Not patriots one bit. They're just money-sucking human beings that will say whatever they want to say in order to make their billions and millions. And I guess they figure they can always just take off to Cuba or something. Should all hell break loose in the United States, and they'll live like kings forever.
Now, here's the irony. We may not get time to queue up the other section of this episode, but I'll put a link in the description to this thing. But they go on to talk about Joe Rogan specifically has this axe to grind against Trudeau because of the vaccine mandates, and he considers that to be the tip of the erosion of individual rights in Canada, and that's why he began with, aren't we gluttons for punishment if we would elect him? Well, maybe if he wins an election, it's because people think he's doing okay.
Do you feel your rights have been eroded?
Not at all.
And I don't either, and I am a conservative. So my rights have not been eroded.
Well, they're talking about, do you remember the big controversy with Jordan Peterson and the gender pronouns, identify as a he, she, whatever that is going to be. And there is a, C18, C16 that talks about gender language. It talks about not discriminating against people on the basis of their gender identification. I don't know if it's forcing people to use pronouns. If you came in and identified as a cat next week, I'd think I was crazy. I'd wonder, but I would respect your right to say
I wouldn't. I'd say, no, Terry, you're not a cat. You are not a cat. And I'd go, Kim!
There's something wrong. But in principle, it's a theory that differences should not be legislated or regulated, but they should be allowed to be expressed.
All these differences, I believe, are a part of an organization trying to divide us.
And that would be part of your sermon?
Well, no, probably not. Yeah. I didn't bring that in, but I do fully believe that there are trolls. There are those trying to divide our society. And why not argue about absolutely everything under the face of this earth? And that's what we're going to do. You know, your headphones aren't as good as my headphones, and my people say my headphones are the best. Yours are not. And anybody who wears headphones like that, obviously, you're a crook. You know,
yeah,
it just goes on and on and on.
I tend to fall into I appeal to the data. And if the data suggests this or that, then that's where what I would call the science leads. So I would tend to do that without the morality
I don't
of
always
it.
believe in the data because, for instance, if I talk to certain people, the United States has never been worse ever, when in reality, it really hasn't been better than this for a long time.
So what is the data that you're using to support your opinion?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So everybody just grabs it and fixes things the way, you know, it's the same old argument, you know. Have you stopped beating your wife? You know, yes or no?
When did I start?
Yeah, well, but that's not a yes or no. You know, it's that same kind of a. I will look at. We've seen cigarette companies. We've seen all kinds of companies fudge the numbers by the questions in which they ask and how they do it in order to say 6 out of 10 doctors smoke Camels. You know, like, okay, we'll give you cigarettes for life if you say you smoke Camels.
That's not data. That's fudging
but
the
you
data.
You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fudging the data.
Yeah, but that's the problem. That's not data itself. That's somebody fudging the data. So you hire the scientists in order to fudge the data. You got the white lab coats, and that somehow authenticates whatever they're going to say. Camels won't kill you. 6 out of 10 surgeons smoke while they're doing your open heart surgery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the ashes are actually good for your respiratory system.
They purify you.
They purify your blood.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So he goes on and wanders specifically about Trudeau, but the essence of it was an erosion of rights, of individual rights. And I'm hard-pressed to find where that is true. Yet I know Jordan Peterson would argue the same thing, and that's how he started to get into hot water when he talked about gender and refusing to allow people to say in his classroom that they could identify as, if it's a transgender individual, he or she or other. So do we have less rights than we had before?
No, sounds like we got more.
Sounds like we got more. When is more less?
I don't know. I'd have to see the data. I'll have to see the data.
Check the data and get out the white lab coat. The Jim and Terry Show signing off. Bye-bye.